Okay, so the circumference around the bicep that includes enough ease so she can kind of flex and move, and that's 12 5/8. We're going to be using that as a guide only. We're going to be marking that on our pattern, and then we're going to be using our custom measurements and marking those on the pattern, and then what we're going to be doing is we're going to find halfway between the two. Okay, so it's going to kind of balance out our own custom fit with something more standard and hopefully give us something good. So the bicep measurement is just going to be a guideline. We're going to mark it, we're going to put our own on there, and we're going to see where the difference is. Some of us might be right on, some of us might be a half of an inch off. If we're a half of an inch off, we're going to split the difference and use the halfway point, and I'll tell you where that is in a minute. The one blank on this sleeve measurement chart is the armhole measurement. And you saw that I just took an armhole measurement. You'll notice on this chart it doesn't say front armhole and back armhole, it just says armhole. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be averaging these two measurements, and we're going to be adding some ease. Okay? So we're going to take these two measurements, and how do we average? Add them up and divide them by 2. So I'm going to take, I have 8 7/16, and I have 8 3/16. So I'm going to add those up. Thankfully, the denominators are the same. If they were a different denominator, let's say I had 8 1/4 and 8 3/16, what would I do?
Get the common denominator.
Common denominator. I'd bring it down to 16. So how many 16ths is a fourth? 4. And if you're not sure and you're not loving math, just look at your ruler, you find a fourth, and count how many little 16th increments are there. Okay, so you're going to need to make sure if the smallest increment of measure is an eighth, then put in an eighth. If the smallest one is in 16th, put it in 16th, and then add. Okay, so if I add my 2 up, I get 16 10/16. I want to divide that by 2 to get my average. And my average that I'm going to be using is 8 5/16. Okay? I'm going to be adding 1/4 of an inch of ease to that. Our cap is actually going to be larger than our armhole. So we need to, the reason why we want our cap larger than the armhole is we want the sleeve to be able to curl over the shoulder. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to make sure there's extra ease that we're then going to kind of gather in, but not roughly gathers, but more compressed, as in we're going to ease it in like the ease sample in 1A. We're going to have that be a little bit larger, and if we compress it in, it's going to create a curve at the top. So that's why we're adding ease in here. So if I add 1/4 inch in here, this is what I'm talking about. I've got 2 different denominators, right? So 1/4 inch is the same as 4/16. So my new measurement, if I add the 1/4 inch in there, is 8 9/16. This is my magic measurement. I'm going to write it in my book so that I don't have to keep looking at it. 8 9, that's what I'm going to use today. Okay? I'm going to take you through just the basic, getting the framework of the sleeve down, and then I'll give you some time to work, and then we'll do the calf, and then I'll give you some time to work, and then we'll do the elbow, and I'll give you some time to work. It's going to look very daunting, but it's very methodical, and this is going to be a good exercise in following directions in order. You really need to follow these directions in order, and we're going to go directly from the book. Okay, so I expect everybody's book open to this page, because your notes are going to be good, but the book's going to be better. And it's fairly clear, I think. It's illustrated pretty well, and there's step by step by step. The way it's going to work is it's going to tell you to draw a series of lines. It's going to tell you what those line lengths are, and they're going to label the lines with a letter at either end. So for instance, the first line it's going to tell you to draw is going to be line AB. And line AB, and there's a picture to show where A and B is, line A and B is going to go through the center of your paper. Okay, so I've listed a suggested paper size on the board. it'll be definitely large enough to draft this sleeve. So I'm going to draw in line AB through the center of the paper. Line AB is actually also going to be the green line. It tells you to draw it the same length as the sleeve length. I tend to draw a line through the whole paper and then mark off where the top and the bottom is. And what our goal here is we're going to draw kind of a elongated house shape. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a bottom of the house. And I'm going to square a new line here, and this is going to be the bottom here, and the bottom is B. And I'm actually going to write the letters on here as I go, so that I'm able to follow along with the book really well. So what was my sleeve height again?
21 3/4.
21 3/4. So I'm going to measure up here. I'm going to find 21 3/4. My ruler isn't long enough, so I'm going to put a little tick mark that says that's 18, 19, 20, 21 3/4. And I'm going to put a little mark up there, and that mark is A. So I've got line A, B, and that's the length of my sleeve. Okay? So it says AB equals over arm length. So we've just drawn a line AB that equals over arm length. Okay? Then it says AC is calf height. Well, we know where A is. So we'll look at the sketch and see, okay, there's A, there's A. Here's C. So C is somewhere around here. We need to find mark C. And it says AC equals calf height. So what's our calf height?
5 3/4.
5 3/4. So from A, I'm going to measure down 5 3/4. Put another little mark, and I'm going to label that mark C. Okay? And I'm going to go back to the book. This is something that I've probably drafted 10 or 11 sleeves now in the last year or two. I still don't have this memorized. I'm not going to require you to memorize this. I have this book open while I demo it. I have it open every time I draft a sleeve. I'm not going to test you on this. This is more, can you follow directions, okay? So we're going to follow this book step by step like this, okay? I'm just going to get you through this first little section, give you time to get set up yourself. Okay, so the next one says C to D. We don't have a D yet. I look at here. There's a D somewhere in here, so I know I need to follow the directions to find D on the page, right? C to D says 1/2 of CB. So if here's C and here's B, and it's telling me D is 1/2 the distance, what should I do?
Divide it into 2.
Yep, I can either measure this and do the math, right? I can take this measurement, divide it by 2, and put a mark. I find it easier, because this paper is a little bit see-through, I find it easier to fold it. And I use the light to help me out. And I fold it until I get my C to line up with the D. So if I hold it up to a light source, I can see the two lines together. And if I put a little crease there, that's the perfect half measurement without me having to do math. There are times when you really have to do math, and there are times when you can fake it like this. Fake it if you want to. Okay? So I've put a mark. That's D. And we're going to be doing this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is all going to go all the way to X, I believe. Okay? Oh, that's nothing. That's nothing. In future drafts, like when you go to draft a trouser, don't even, yeah. So, then this D is just going to be it's just going to be a guideline to get us where we really want to go. I don't know why the next letter isn't E. They decided to make the next one D apostrophe or D prime. Okay, so D prime is going to represent the elbow level. Now if we bend our arm, you may notice that your forearm